Hi everybody, we're back for DECT Today magazine and the DECT Forum YouTube channel. Now over the last couple of years the DECT Forum has spent a lot of time talking about DECT NR+, but it's been pretty much all from the perspective of the industry itself, commercial viewpoint that is. Well, we're taking a slightly different viewpoint now and we're talking about DECT NR+, but with the academic community. I'm now talking with Maria Dolores Perez Guirao of Ostfalia University, who is going to give us her view. Maria, let's kick off by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your own background.
Certainly. Thank you, Vince. I'm a professor of network technologies at Ostfalia University of Applied Science in a city close to Braunschweig in northern Germany. Mm-hmm. And I've been in this role for about 3 years now. Previous to that, I work in the PMSE industry. That stands for Program Making Special Events, and my focus was wireless technologies and spectrum regulation for professional audio systems. Previous to that, earlier back in my career, I co-founded a company working on cognitive radio communications. It means we explore technologies on spectrum sensing, waveform identification, dynamic spectrum access, all aim to improve wireless coexistence in crowded environments like AI-assisted communications and something like that. And maybe also important is for me it's rewarding to work in projects where we have a bridge between academic research and real practical implementation. That's important.
Okay, well, talk to us a little bit about Ostfalia University itself, how it interacts with the technology sector and the specific focus of your department.
Oh yeah, well, Ostfalia is a university of applied science. So as the name suggests, it has a strong focus on practical and application-oriented teaching and research. Mm-hmm. So we work closely with industry, students' projects, of course, but research collaborations, knowledge transfer. So we have a strong cooperation with the industry, and particularly or in concrete, my department, we work on communication technologies, networking technologies, and embedded systems that you find, almost everywhere, from wearable devices to agriculture to industry to everywhere. So that's what we do.
Fantastic. So how did you first become aware of DECT NR+ and the work of companies such as Wabas and Nordic Semiconductor?
Indeed, I can, I am proud to say that I can say that I was involved in this endeavor or this history of DECT New Radio from the very beginning. My connection to DECT New Radio comes from the time when I was working for the PMSE industry. Mm-hmm. I was working there for Sennheiser. Sennheiser is a worldwide leading audio company, and it's also a member of DECT Forum. It's also a member in the ETSI TC-DECT standardization. And back then, I will say it's kind of mostly 10 years ago, mm-hmm. we started to realize within the department, our department, that the size of the business for traditional classic DECT was reducing, mm-hmm. was getting smaller, and we observe effects or impact on the regulatory work, on the access to spectrum, yes. Because it begins to get a discussion about does the DECT community still needs this precious 20 megahertz spectrum that we have. So for those that don't know that, in the PMC industry, particularly broadcasting and live events, there is a strong foundation and tradition of classic DECT for wireless intercom systems, for presentation microphones, this kind of things that are not on the cutting edge of the latency requirements, but are very demanding.
Yes.
So we saw that there is a need for evolution, and then the department become very proactive and start thinking about how to engage and how to get an evolvement of the technology that could take the strength of the classic DECT, but evolve the technology in a way that it becomes a agnostic radio access technology for several application sectors and industrial sectors, so that we get more power in the business size, and we can not only keep the spectrum, but thanks to the IMT 2020 process, get access to more spectrum. So that's how I connect to DECT New Radio, and it's very rewarding for me to see how things have evolved, how the community has grown, how we have get great success thanks to the support of those companies that you mentioned, for instance. Now, Nordic Semiconductors, Wirepas are big ones, big players that have really helped to push the technology and to enlarge the ecosystem.
So why is DECT NR Plus interesting to you as an academic?
Well, in manifold ways, or in several ways. Yeah. Of course, from the academic research perspective, the thing is that well, you have the possibility, you have a field of research where you can touch on a lot of relevant, current, open issues or research topics in wireless communications. That's our energy efficiency, massive deployment of networks, heterogeneous networks, convergent cellular, non-cellular topologies, dynamic resource allocation, spectrum sharing. There's a lot of topics that we can touch there. Yep. So that's very interesting. But for me particularly, what really stands out is that the DECT New Radio has a very unique value proposition for industries, and particularly for those small and medium-sized industries, because DECT New Radio brings an approach to let this industry innovate without disrupting their ecosystems. And since I've worked for the PMC industry several years, I know what it means to work for small, it's not small, but medium-sized companies, and I have this background. I think this is a really special, unique proposition currently when you look into the wireless proposals that industry has. And last but not least, if I may add, also for teaching. Mm-hmm. For teaching is also very interesting because it's a technology that can that help improve, or it's a very good vehicle for applied teaching, because it can let students get in touch and deal with real research problems and also real world application problems in the industry, combine these things, bridge the gap in an affordable way. It's also important. Yeah. It's an affordable technology. So that's all what makes, for me, the DECT technology interesting.
Okay, and for those people who maybe don't understand, can you explain to us how the academic community can contribute to the development of a standard and to the design and development and rollout of a technology such as DECT NR+?
Well, of course, I mean, in my and my experience, also being someone that has participated in the standardization in 3GPP and knows well how the synergy between research and standardization works in other technology fields. I can say that academia plays a vital role in the development of the standards and in the adoption of the technology. On the one side, you have the, let's say, the neutral technology, research-driven view on the things characterizing the technologies, having a neutral perspective. On the other side, you have like the basic components that later can make the standard evolve real in innovation.
Yes.
Then we have some relation to patents and intellectual property, these kind of things. And one thing that is usually forgotten, and I think is also relevant, is that, in the academia at the universities, we are the ones that are teaching and educating the next generation of system engineers, of wireless engineers. And I think if we take DECT New Radio into our teaching plans and our lab work, then we are contributing to the broader adoption of the technology, because it's about early understanding of the technology. It's about it's about knowing about this technology, know how to use it, know that it solves the problems, and this is this generation of people that is going to adopt the technology later. At least I believe that is a very important knop in the whole picture.
I totally agree with you. I hadn't really thought about the education side of it, but that's a very valid point indeed. But on a day-to-day basis, do you get involved in hands-on work, implementation and testing, or is your contribution purely theoretical?
No, I get hands-on, definitely. Currently, my focus is on the development of the medium access control layer. If you look at the scientific literature around DECT New Radio, you will find several papers that justify the huge potential of the technology. You will also read that the medium access control is the piece of the technology that still has place for optimization. So it's a place where you can, let's say, write papers and optimize the whole technology. On the other side, you also, when you work hands-on, you realize that there are no available NEC implementations out there. There is not a community where you can, let's say, onboard easily and fast into the technology. So I'm trying to help in that direction, and my work now is like in this implementation of the medium access control. And I don't do this only on theoretical research, but I always try to go hand in hand with the standardization, so that things that happens in my applied work that find then the right way or position in the standards to try to evolve the standards and to bring it into the real development of the technology. So, yeah.
This work sounds really, really valuable. Is the research carried out by Ostfalia of value to and shared with academics around the world?
Well, we share the work. That's the way how academia works. So we write papers, we do contributions with other with industry and with other academic institutions. We provide contributions to conference. That's the usual business. And for instance, one example for that is the Merci project. The Merci project is Franco-German project funded by the Ministries of Economics and I think climate protection in Germany and in France. Yep. And Ostfalia and we play there an active role in the consortium. And for instance, to talk about sharing through this project, within this project, I managed to establish a very fruitful cooperation and collaboration with a university in Spain. That's the Polytechnic University in Cartagena. Mm-hmm. It's where I come from. So we are both together collaborating in the development of the MEC. And since they are also in a very industrial region, we have the possibility to do tests and applied research with companies in the area. So we are extending the scope of the possible partners and broadening the adoption. So yeah, I think that well, we share it, and I hope that it's valuable what we share. It's what we try.
I absolutely think it is, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to finish off now by being a little bit bold and asking you for your personal opinion. How ambitious or optimistic should we, the DECT Forum, be about the potential for DECT NR+?
Well, I've told you I'm from the very beginning in the board, and I think we have now a solid community with a good foundation, and to be one of the most important things that I hear as critic points when I present the technology is the situation that we had since recently, that only Nordic was a company that publicly were a provider of silicon, of chips. Yeah. And that is for industrial readiness of a technology, that's not a good thing. It's maybe a good, let's say, a starting point for Nordic to be the early adopter or early provider of the technology, but for the whole ecosystem, it's important to have several silicon providers. I'm happy to say that now this situation has changed, and now we have at least one additional company that has made it publicly. That's the Last Mile Semiconductor. That's a fabless silicon provider in Germany, yes, which has announced that they are working and they will provide chips for DECT New radio. This is a great innovation. This is really important when it comes to being ambitious or being optimistic, because we are on the way to get industrial readiness of the technology. And I think once we have that combined with a solid foundation and the ecosystem that it's evolving, I think we have good reasons to be optimistic.
Fantastic. Well, this has been really interesting. I'm now getting used to seeing you at DECT Forum events, and I hope that continues into the future. But for now, I want to thank you very much for your time today and look forward to the next time. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. It has been my pleasure. Bye-bye.